think this is working now. Hi everyone, Father Anthony Hannon here. This is to prepare his way. And sorry for the technical difficulties. If you got a notification maybe a half an hour ago or so, but been having some technical difficulties on this end. And I'm not sure who's here now. Rich S, that's great. And I did have two priests on waiting on previously, but I just couldn't get it going live. So anyway, we'll see what happens here as I try to watch the chat and get things going. I've entitled this live stream "Unhappiness, School Bathrooms, and Other Fun Topics." So there's just been a lot of things on my mind lately, and I've been kind of getting on myself a bit to get some messages out, and a lot of things to talk about, but I didn't really want to do a real long stream, but I don't know how long I'll go tonight. It might be half an hour, it might be an hour, I'm not sure, but try to cover some topics, and then maybe I can go back and kind of divide them up and put them in the video section. Some of you may not be aware that YouTube, they kind of separate the videos. Eh? So if you go to the channel, the to Prepare His Way channel, it has on the top, let me just check this out here, so I'm giving you the right information. They have on the top a number of headings. And like they have, see if it comes up. They have videos, then they have live, and then they have posts, they have playlists and podcasts. And so my videos are either under video, that's usually if I've pre-recorded it and then uploaded it, or under live. And what happens is once I finish a live stream, YouTube automatically puts it under that live category. And then it takes some time to process it. I think it has to do with the speed of the internet that I have here, which is very, very slow. So maybe the next day it will show the chat replay. But you have to go to live to see the live streams, and under videos to see the videos. So anyway, like I say, I intend to take this live stream, take the topics, divide them up, and then put them separately on some videos. And that way, those who are subscribed to the channel but have not been getting the live streams will see the videos there. And I just know that this is a bit of an issue, because I've had some people say, "Hey, how come you like it's months between doing videos?" And it's true, I don't post that frequently. That might change in the near future, but it said, "Oh, you have to go to the live and then click," and they say, "Oh, you've done a lot of live streams." That's right. So let me get back to the video at hand here. So I was just checking to see if anyone else was listening or was getting involved in the chat. So anyway, okay, let's get right into it then, realizing that some people will be watching later. Unhappiness. What a strange topic, but I was thinking of doing a video, maybe calling it recipe for unhappiness. Or maybe calling it "Unhappy People Do These Things." And there's a lot of things that I kind of take for granted, and but maybe we need reminding. I certainly don't want to kind of talk down to anybody who watches these videos or anything, or assume. I always assume that people know these things, but sometimes they don't. Or like I say, maybe we just need some reminding. Sometimes someone will come to a number of individuals over the years, confess, feeling sorry for themselves, and 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 self-pity, eh? And sometimes I say, because they'll complain to others, they'll complain to others, they'll vent to others and stuff, and sometimes that's okay. And good for you if you have someone to share things with. But I say, if you're gonna have a pity party, just keep the music down, eh? Because sometimes not everyone wants to be in that negative uh, frame of mind. So the first thing that unhappy people do, or a recipe for unhappiness, is to look for the shortcomings in others. Look for the shortcomings in others, see their faults, and focus on them. Focus on the faults of others. And when they relate, as they relate to you, right? Say it's family or friends or coworkers or whoever it is, your boss, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Uh, Focus on how they do not meet your expectations. Okay, and say, especially if they don't do something, they didn't say this. Say you go to mass and you hear a homily and you're like, why didn't the priest say this? Why didn't the bishop say this? And he should have said this. Well, yeah, just keep focusing on what other people don't say or don't do. Maybe they're not kind enough to you as you think they should be. They're not very charitable or something like this. Just focus on that, and then that will be a good way of becoming unhappy, right? Or staying unhappy. So much depends on our expectations of others, and so that's the first thing. So Father John Brown, SJ, is in the chat. Thanks a lot, Father John, for coming on. You're on the first attempt there tonight, and people. He offers a 10 or 15 minute reflection on the daily readings. At least he's doing that this Lent, and he left a comment one of my previous videos, and I checked them out, and I think they're worthwhile. So if you want to go there and subscribe and say, "Hey, Father Anthony sent me," and it leaves some comments, some encouragement there. I think he's offering a lot. It's not easy to give content every day, but he's trying. So, and I think there's some good insights there for sure. So focus on other people's shortcomings. Keep your expectations really high on other people, and just focus on that, and then you will become unhappy. So that's good. Now, if you don't want to become unhappy, so you want a recipe for happiness, well, why don't you try looking for what's good in others? Some people seem to see the good in others all the time, and they seem to be the happiest of people. They seem to be the happiest of people. Now, of course, all the world's a stage, right? We're all mere players. And, I read in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, an author saying that someone sharing his story saying, Shakespeare forgot to say that I'm the world's critic. I'm the world's biggest critic. And in those pages, he talks about, like our mind is like a magnifying glass. Whatever we focus on, that gets bigger. He's talking about his wife, and how when they first got married, he saw all the good in her. And now they've been married for a while, he sees all the bad in her. And that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And so he had a change of attitude. And as a result, he started seeing all the good in her and started falling in love with her again. So it's kind of like that. And people who look for the good in others, they seem to be happy. They seem to be happy wherever they go. Eh? But if we become habitually looking for the faults in others, then that's going to be a problem. Now we live in the wider culture, right? So those who watch these videos, we like to think that we are countercultural, and we are countercultural. For those of you who take your faith seriously, you're countercultural. We live in this kind of culture of death and anti-religion and all of that. And yes, you are living countercultural. And same with those in the freedom movement. You're definitely living countercultural. And it is baffling to me as to you how many cannot see what has been going on in the last few years, and indeed the last few decades, and what's in store in the near future. And we get labeled as conspiracy theorists or whatever. But we all live in the wider culture, and so even though we're swimming against the stream, so to speak, we're all swimming in the same water. And what's big in our culture right now, and you'll recognize this phrase because we're using it all the time: cancel culture. We live in cancel culture. And there's canceled priests, so priests being put to the sidelines, not because they did anything wrong, but maybe because they're a little bit too outspoken for the comfort zone of some of their bishops or whatever. But there may be other factors, but in general we see this. And I would guard against participating in the cancel culture, because in other words, don't write people off. Now, there's only so much time in the day. There's only so many, YouTube channels. And so there's only so much time you ought to be, spending watching videos or reading this or that. We have to discriminate. We have to choose where we're going to spend our time. But I would encourage people to not like dismiss people right away. In the freedom movement, we're concerned about infiltrators. We're concerned about agent provocateurs. We're concerned about controlled opposition, right? Well, we could say the same within the church, that we're concerned about infiltrators, controlled opposition, and I guess kind of troublemakers. And like I said in another video talking about infighting, the way I try to look at it, so I can have love in my heart for everyone, is that every human being, no matter how old we are, adults, and we're when we're getting up to about my age, we're supposed to have a bit of wisdom or something. And I guess, the life experience does give that to a certain extent. But we're all kind of operating out of our woundedness, out of our, unresolved family of origin issues, is the way I kind of look at it. You don't have to look at it like that, but it's the way I look at it, because it allows me to see the dynamics a little bit more clearly. And it also helps me with those expectations that I might have of others, when I realize that, people are just somewhat stuck in that. But everyone has something to offer. I can learn something from everyone. And that's one of the things I learned in the 12-step groups, is that I can learn from anybody. I can learn from anybody. And sure, some people's personalities, the way they talk, it may irk me, idiosyncrasies, or maybe they share some of their worldviews and I don't agree with it or something like that. But if I listen long enough, quite often I can hear something that's very helpful from someone. And I've heard wisdom come out of the voices of people who most people wouldn't give them the time of day, right? And I've heard foolishness come out of people that people give all sorts of respect and everything like that. And so when it comes to our expectations of others, just remember, like, none of us are God. I'm not God. You're not God. Pick your celebrity YouTube person. That person's not God. Your parish priest is not God, right? But everyone has something to offer. And if we listen and learn and keep an open mind, then we'll learn something from them. At the very least, we'll learn how not to do things, right? When I was in the seminary, I said this over and over, but I'd go to my spiritual director and he'd say, well, how's it going? How's it going the last couple of weeks, or however frequently we'd be meeting? And I'd say, well, you know what, Father so-and-so said this, and Father so-and-so did this, or didn't do that, or whatever. And so my spiritual director is very good. He wasn't verbose like I am. I can go on and on, but he just put it right to the point, got right to it. He said, well, when you become a priest, don't do that. That's perfect. So if nothing else, I can learn how not to do so. and it's kind of the prayer that I have after my videos or after I counsel someone, pastoral counseling or spiritual direction or confession, or after I preach. My prayer is, Lord, anything from you, stir up the Holy Spirit in them, help them remember, help them. Um, if there's anything good there, anything from you, all things, good things come from God, right? Stir that up when help them remember. If there's anything from me, kind of like let them forget it, or fix the damage, or at the very worst, or whatever, at the very least, let them know if I was wrong about something, or if I was a bad example. At least let them know that. Right? Because I may never see them again. I preach at a parish or something, and then they leave. I'll never see them again. Someone may even watch a video and they'll say, "Well, that guy's they don't like something about me," so they never come, they don't subscribe, they never come back. And so Lord, you fix it, right? Or we say, they're guardian angels, help them know. Well, don't be like that guy or something, right? Or be like that guy if it's a good thing. Now, related to this in a way, so Father John says great attitude relates to St. Ignatius Loyola as the description of holy indifference. And living the life with Father P, sorry, I hope I didn't blow your anonymity there. Humility is the key to being a good priestly steward. Yeah, and humility has to do with honesty, right? So like in my last video, when I talked about, Lent is made for man, man is not made for Lent. Um, in my opinion, God is not pleased when we put ourselves down, tell ourselves that, in the kind of the tape or the repeating, say, I'm no good, or telling others you're no good. It's just not, it has to fit with reality. So you are a good person. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, a reckless sinner or a wretched sinner or whatever. Not reckless, wretched sinner. We're all capable of the worst sins, and we've all done bad things and stuff like that. But we repent. God forgives. We cooperate with His grace. We grow in virtue. All of that good stuff. But fundamentally, you're good. God doesn't make junk. To kind of go back to that saying, and. So, yeah, okay. So, what I want to talk about here, just related to this and relating to other people, is this. And I go back to the serenity prayer, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And and a simple kind of wisdom to know the difference is, accept the things I cannot change. I cannot change someone else. And courage to change things I can. That's me. And a lot of times when we're complaining about others, it's because I don't feel happy, so I'm looking outside of myself to see, well, um, why am I unhappy? Well, it's because this person did this or said this, and I feel like somehow that person is getting in the way of my happiness or my freedom or my serenity, my holiness, my wanting to become a saint. This person is getting in the way, and they have to change. No, they don't have to change. Nobody has to change for you or for me to be happy, to be free, to become holy. Okay? No one else. It doesn't depend on anybody else changing. It only has to do with me changing. But here's the thing. I don't know about you, but speaking for myself, there are many things in my life that I have tried to change, and I don't seem to make much progress. Right? Or I fall flat in my face, and so if I find it difficult to change myself, and of course all change is possible, anything's possible, and everything is possible for God. We cooperate with His grace, we practice the virtues, and change is possible, right? There's a saying, knowledge plus change equals growth. And knowledge in itself does not equal growth, but knowledge plus change equals growth. And practice makes perfect, as the saying goes, or at least practice, we progress. We if we practice, it becomes easy, the better habits, right? But if I find it difficult for myself to change myself, how is it that I expect someone else to change if I point out some fault of theirs? Oh yeah, by the way, this really bugs me about you. Is that going to change them? I mean, just try to put that into perspective. We just look at ourselves. We're a little introspective of ourselves. Then we'll see that how ridiculous it is to expect others to change, or to put our happiness at stake, right? Um, in wanting someone else to change. Now, if you do want to influence someone, let's consider the golden. Let's consider the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself, done to yourself. So I'm going to put this to anyone who might watch this video, because we a lot of us, you watch these videos, we kind of have a similar worldview about a lot of things. I'm sure there's things you disagree with me, and please, like, don't cancel me. But if you want, you can cancel me, whatever. But we would like to influence others for the better, right? For many of us, our families and maybe people we know, maybe neighbors or something like this, we don't see eye to eye on things, and maybe when it comes to the freedom stuff, we'd like others to be on board. We don't want them to enable the agenda, right? We want people to resist, and we want people to live in freedom. Going around watching people the last few years, just going along with everything when they didn't have to, right? And you'd like to see others, be free, and or for those in the faith, we want people to experience, like I'd like others to be able to experience the tangible difference of hearing the words of absolution in the Sacrament of Confession, right? I mean, it makes a big difference. It's but a lot of people, they don't practice their faith, or just even just about being open to Jesus and to the church and all of this type of thing. Within the church, there's a lot of infighting. Within the church, I've mentioned a couple of videos that sometimes, it's as though the members of the body of Christ, like sometimes we think that our role is to be the antibodies, we're the white blood cells or something, but we end up being like arthritic, right? Adding to the arthritis in the body of Christ, because we attack joints that are not, they don't need so much attacking, and so I mean, I just see this. We're in the church, we're just criticizing everyone all the time, and it doesn't mean we can't. We can't. We want to work out things. There is objective truth, and there are better ways of doing things and worse ways of doing things, and everything like that. But just think of the golden rule. If you're Catholic, think of this. You're practicing Catholic, and you love your faith, and you meet someone who is a diehard Protestant, okay? And hey, Peter, nice to have you on board. That's great. So a diehard Protestant comes up to you and starts telling you that the Catholic Church is the whore of Babylon, the Pope is the Antichrist, that you worship statues, that you're idolaters, and all that's not true, right? And they start talking about the Mass, and they have no idea really what they're talking about, because they just heard this from someone else, right? And they come on you, and they put everything that you love down, right? Criticize everything that you love. Are you, like, how do you react to that? Do you react to that by saying, wow, I was wrong all these years. Please give me some literature. Like, where do you worship? Like, can I go to your church? I'm going to leave the Catholic Church because you told me all this stuff, even though you know it's not true. It's not your experience, right? So in our approach to others, let's apply the golden rule. Just, if you don't like something a bishop is doing or a bishop is saying, right? Do you think that it's actually going to have a positive effect if you write all sorts of emails and tell him how wrong he is? I'm gonna tell you, probably not. It's probably not going to have a positive. He's probably not going to say, "Oh, look at this person. They wrote this long email or letter or whatever, or they phoned me up and they gave me an earful. I guess I'm wrong." No, he's going to be like, these people are crazy, or they don't know what they're talking about, and they're not going to listen to you. Remember, in our engagements with others, we're dealing with human beings, right? And probably their biggest influence are those around them that love them, and those around them who are kind to them. Now, it's true that there may be just people around them just being, so-called yes men, right? But nonetheless, these are the people that they live with or work with, they see every day, and they're going to have greater influence on them than some stranger, giving them an earful or send them some email telling them how wrong they are about this, that, or the other thing. Okay, so I just want to give you something to consider. Within the Catholic Church, I get a lot. I get quite a bit of traditional Latin Mass only Catholics telling me how bad the Novus Ordo Mass is, how it's a very condescending approach, I find. It makes me feel like, why did I even get ordained? Is my priesthood even valid? And it's like, I kind of start thinking like, well, if I embrace the traditional Latin Mass, the 1962 Mass, am I going to look down on everybody else just like this person is looking down on me right now? So I just, I give that kind of heads up. My interest in the traditional Latin Mass is, and I do have the resources to learn it, but it's mostly, my motivation is mostly out of love for the people that might come on retreat or come to visit me, and because they have a very low tolerance for the Novus Ordo Mass, I would like to be able to pray with them and offer them the Holy Sacraments of Mass in a way that they could receive that. But when someone sends me like videos or articles, and it's just trashing the Novus Ordo, I'm just letting you know that the effect it has on me is, I don't want to learn it now. So maybe that's just me, but again, just think, how do you respond to people when they want to change your mind about something? And just, you have to think a little bit, strategize a little bit. Okay. Did I want to talk about anything else along those lines? So this is my unhappiness section, how to be unhappy. Better to look for the good in others. Us human beings, we are the crown of God's creation. And I was out walking today, and I'm out in this beautiful woods and everything, and I'm seeing nature, and the birds are coming back. I saw some mallard ducks, and I saw some Canadian geese and some other birds that are coming. And coming back, and the beaver dam that's near the road. It's at the fall. It's kind of shaped a little bit like the horseshoe of Niagara Falls, and I'm just saying it's so beautiful out here. Well, um, I need to see human beings made in the image of God, right? I need to see the good in them because this is God's creation, and I'm gonna please God, we're gonna spend eternity with one another, right? So might as well start looking for the good in others and see the good in yourself and see the good in others. And just remember, if someone is having a pity party or if they're stuck in this kind of negative habit and everything like this of always look at the flaws, just remember that's where they're at. That's where they're at. That's what I try to do, with others. And like I say, I just shared my kind of reaction. Some people, object. Some non-Catholic Christians object to calling priest father, and okay, because that's where they're at. Like they're taking that passage where Jesus says, "Call no man your father." You have one Father in heaven. They're taking that very like literal, like that's now like a four-letter word or something like that, and that's fine. That's where they're at. But in sharing, how when people kind of attack those things that I love, um, I'll share this, and that's how it affects me when someone calls me father, because it doesn't build up my ego. What it does is it reminds me who I should be. It reminds me that I should be a good example. It reminds me that I should act in a way that is becoming, not only as a disciple of Christ, a follower of Christ, but also I should act in ways that are becoming of the dignity of the priesthood. So there's that. Oh, and one thing I'll leave on this kind of section of the unhappiness and everything, and about complaining about others and everything. When I was in the seminary, I was able to take an elective course because in my undergrad, I took a number of scripture courses. So I was able to take other courses while I was in the seminary at other colleges in the Toronto School of Theology, so that I could, a lot of my brother seminarians couldn't take. There's just not a lot of electives in the program. And so I took this one course, and in this one course, the professor asked us all to do seminars. And one of my classmates it was open to lay people, and was this young woman, and she got up at the chalkboard, and she said, "Okay, everyone, help me out here. What are the problems in the church? What's wrong with the church?" And and no one really wanted to answer. There wasn't much. She wasn't getting much help, and so then someone put up their hands. Well, I don't really believe this, but some people say this. And another person, well, yeah, again, I don't really believe this, but some people say this. And they're just trying to help them along. You don't want to help each other, help each other get a good mark and whatnot. And anyway, everything that was written on the board and anything she came up, or even someone came up with a legitimate grievance, we could say. And remember, when abuses are brought up, remember this axiom. An abuse of something or a misuse of something is not so. So just remember that whenever you see the faults in others within the church or anything. And so as all these things were put on the board, I kept thinking, yeah, but, and I think it was shortly after that class. It might have been that very day. I my annoyance with this fellow student turned into gratitude, and the reason is, as I was all the my own train of thought, I realized that I was in love with I was in love with the bride of Christ, and this helped me to persevere in the seminary, because when you're in love with someone, I mean, I assume everyone watching this is an adult, and you know, you've been in love before. You had a crush on someone, at least when you're younger or something, right? When you're in love with someone, you 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 put aside any any of these minor things, and you're just, I, yeah, yeah, but she's this. Yeah, but she's this. Yeah, but don't you see this? You know? So I was just very grateful and I must remember that. I must remember that on a daily basis, you know, that the church, the bride of Christ, is is more than the people on earth that I see, and I quite kind of uh, habitually see the flaws in, right? Or what's wrong. Nothing perfect this side of heaven, and and please God, uh, you know, He will purify us, and you know, it'll be better. Okay, so I think that's, I'm going to leave that on the unhappiness part, but hopefully you heard, you know, some ways of becoming happy as well. And happy means blessed. Eh? It is tied in with holiness, right? With becoming holy. And happiness, when you're in scripture, when you see a translation says happiness, think blessedness, and because they're pretty much interchangeable, and it's just the way our English language is. Yeah, so just kind of think of that, and I'm thinking, all even going back to Aristotle, who talked about the virtuous man, the virtuous person is the happy person, the blessed person. Okay, and he in Nicomachean Ethics, he described three different types of friendships. He described friendships based on utility, you know, maybe that's a work relationship; pleasure, so that's, you know, maybe common interests; and then friendships built on virtue. And he said, of those three types of friendships, only one endures, and that's the one based on virtue, because it's built in you know, the person, and the stick to itness that that comes with pursuing the life of virtue. But the others, once they fade away, when the interest changes or the job changes or something like that. And he's, you know, he'd say, like many have said throughout the centuries, you know, it's very rare to, you know, someone have you know, a true friend, a lifelong friend. That's very rare. That's a very rare thing, and it's something to be cherished. And so don't be too worried when people you know, come and go in your life. That's okay, but pursue the truth, pursue virtue, and yes, you will lose friends, but you know, it'll all work out in the wash. It'll all work out in the wash, and it's very important that we develop that 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 one relationship that we really need, and that is with God, because He loves you and He thinks you're great and all that good stuff. Okay, I want to switch to school bathrooms. Let's switch to school bathrooms. Let me check. Let me check the chat here before we go on to the next topic of school bathrooms. So nice to see. You know, the chat going back and forth a little bit, and hey, Michael's on board. Thanks a lot, Michael, for joining the chat. Okay, school bathrooms. I want to talk about the school system, and up here in Ontario, the province of Ontario in Canada, the schools have been getting some international interest, at least in the United States, even from names like Tucker Carlson, because of a situation at a high school in the city or the town of Renfrew, and it's a St. Joseph's Catholic High School. And there's a young man there, a 16-year-old, a teenager, Josh Alexander, who I've met on a number of occasions, who I met him at him and his friends, the Save Canada group, at James Top March, and then at some freedom rallies down at Parliament Hill. I'm not sure if I met them anywhere else, but we've had a few chats, and I'm just very impressed with these young guys. They're way more mature than I was at their age, and Josh has been suspended from his school. I'm not sure all the technical words, but he was, barred for trespassing or whatever. There's different things going on. He's been arrested. I don't know if he's been charged with anything or fined or anything like that. I don't know those details. But the issue is that there are some students who are biologically male, or at least one anyway, who is identifying as female and is going into the girls' washrooms and or change rooms. So Josh is speaking up for the girls. He's exercising a virtue. He's practicing a form of chivalry, and he's to be applauded for that. And so he's been interviewed, and if you've seen his interviews, you know that he handles himself very, very well for a teenage boy. And he is Christian. He's a non-Catholic Christian. And there's a lot of commentaries about the Catholic schools. And I want to help people who are interested in this topic and have been commenting on it on the social platforms, whatever, to understand how things are. There's how things should be, and there's how things are. And I want to explain the reality of the school system here in Ontario. And if I can explain this, it might help some of you to think of, a strategy that might help. So I guess it relates to this other part of the topic of this live stream of on unhappiness and expectations and whatnot. But okay, so first of all, I want to say that public schools are important. Public schools are important because it is in the best interest of society at large to have a literate population. It's important that people know, how to read, how to write, math skills, and building upon that, geography, history, and what civics, we could say, whatnot. But if someone can't read, well, you can't get a driver's license, right? And a person is very, very much impaired, and we want, we want intelligent people, we want knowledgeable people. So public education is very important, but it's not the be all and end all. And I actually find it quite astonishing when I think about it, how many Canadians go to public schools. And here I'm just going to say a public school is a government-run school. And here in Ontario, we have 4 different government-run schools. school systems, because it's all one system, but 4 different school boards and divided up into regions. We have the English public, they call it English public. We have the French public. Then we have English Catholic and French Catholic. And these are all publicly funded, so taxpayer based, government run schools. There's no tuition to go to the English Catholic or French Catholic schools in Ontario. So that I've seen some American commentators kind of say, what's wrong with your parents? You pay good money to send them to Catholic schools, and then you're putting up with this. No, they don't pay anything. It's from the broad tax base. That's the way it is. Now, we do have in Ontario private schools, and thanks be to God, we have homeschooling. Now, to go to a English public school, that's open to everybody. To go to an English Catholic school, that is the priority placement goes to baptized Catholics from kindergarten or junior kindergarten, I guess, to grade 8. Okay, so an elementary school, we call that the elementary school, or maybe junior high is grade 7 and 8, but up to grade 8, a school can give preferential enrollment to someone who is baptized Catholic. However, there's always room for someone who's not Catholic. You know, people would come to me, you know, when I was in the parish, and I never see them at church. They're not practicing their faith. They've never really been taught it. And they want to have their baby baptized. Of course, I want their baby baptized, but I want to evangelize the parents. I want them to start embracing the faith. Why, you know, and I say, why do you want your baby baptized? Well, we want, you know, little Johnny or little Sally, we want them to go to the Catholic school. Oh, well, don't worry. You don't need to be baptized to go to those schools. And they will make room for you. Why will they make room for you? Because they get paid from the tax base, right? From the pool of tax money dedicated to education. They get paid based on the enrollment. So that's why they'll if they have too much enrollment, they'll just put a portable outside. They're gonna grow the system. They're gonna grow the system. They'll accept. To go to a French school, either French public or French Catholic, in Ontario, there are supposed to be some conditions. That French is your first language, that you went to, like the parent went to the French school, was in the French school system when they were younger. It's kind of crazy that they're limited like that, but that's the way it's supposed to be. But again, if you want to immerse your child in French, in a French school, a parent can send because they're going to make room for them. They're going to make room for them. And if your child is in junior kindergarten or kindergarten, they're gonna pick up the language. So it's, you know, it's a good thing. But all 4 school board systems in Ontario, English public, French public, English Catholic, French Catholic, they all get paid from the provincial government based on how many students are enrolled. That's the way it works here. Now, I want to go to a principle, not a principle of a school, but excuse me. I'll finish that thought. from grade 9 to 12, it used to be 9 to 13, but from 9 to 12, again, it's full public funding. It's all the government run, but it used to be that only grade 9 and 10 was full funding, we called it. And then when I was going to high school, and I went to English public high school instead of the English Catholic school, but for grade 11, 12, and 13, you had to pay tuition. And there's fundraising and stuff like that, but there was lobbying that went on. And then when one of the premiers of Ontario, Bill Davis, so that's like it's kind of like a governor of a state in the United States, when he was retiring, as kind of a bone, he, after decades of begging and stuff for full funding, he said, "Yeah, okay, we're going to get full funding," but there was a string attached, and that was that that the high school was open to anybody. So no preferential treatment in terms of enrollment for a baptized Catholic in the high school, at the high school level. Again, doesn't matter anyway. They would take them, and they would take them all. I think they make some sort of condition, or the schools do, the Catholic schools do, that they have to participate, or they have to go to all the school masses or something like that, which is a whole other story, and I could do a whole video on the problems with that. But in these schools. But people go to, parents send their kids to these schools for different reasons. Sometimes it's the school, well, the school is right next door and they don't have to take the bus and they can come home for lunch or something like that. Or it's a newer school and it's a better school. Or maybe they've got a good music program, or, their football team is really good, or something. Many people who are new to Canada, the countries that they come from, especially for the third world country, the Catholic schools are really the best schools. And they're just amazed that they don't have to pay anything to send their children to the Catholic schools here. So they think they're getting a superior education at the Catholic schools. So a lot of different reasons why people send them. But I want to go back to like a kind of a first principle. And this is, and some of you have heard this and some of you haven't, but parents are the primary educators of children. Or sometimes we say parents are the first educators of children, of their children. It's probably better to just think of it like this. Parents are the educators of their children. Or it's the parents' responsibility to educate their children. I always tell anyone who wants to listen to me, if you can homeschool your children, if you can't do that, private Catholic school, if you can't do that, a private Christian school, if you can't do that, a private anything school. Why? Why the private schools? Because the private schools are going to listen to the parents more. You're going to have more influence. Why homeschooling? Because no matter what, when you send your kids to school, they're going to have, they're going to be taught maybe values that you don't want them to have. And I've always been impressed with homeschooling children. I've always been impressed. Somebody says, "Oh, well, what about the socialization factor?" Well, most of the socialization, at least in the government-run schools, is bad socialization. Okay, that's where you get into young parents. You'll know this. This. Where did you get that toy? Where did you get that language from? They're from the schoolyard or whatever. And nowadays we have to be concerned about the teachers. Okay, so then I say, if you can't do a private school, if you can't homeschool and you can't do private school, and I would say make the sacrifices, do that. If you can't do that, then send them to public school. And if you really can't do that, then send them to the government-run Catholic school. And that's my opinion. And I, some of my viewers, please don't cancel me, but again, cancel me if you want. It's a free, you're free to do that. But that's my opinion. Why? Because the teachers in the government-run Catholic schools, the vast majority of them do not practice their faith. They just don't. The only influence that the official Catholic Church has on the government-run Catholic schools is that for a teacher to apply for a job, it's part of the protocol that they need a letter from a priest. It doesn't have to be their parish priest. I think it's almost like, oh, letter from a priest, check. I don't even know if they even read it. And for decades, what was going on was that they go to teachers' college, they want to be a teacher, and they're probably like good people and all that good stuff, smart, whatever, but they don't practice their faith, and they've never been told about the precepts of the church. They're not a good Catholic if they don't go to Mass on Sunday. Okay, they're not even told that. Never been told in 12, 13, 14 years of government-run Catholic education, they've never been told that. And so at all the school masses, they've never been told that. So what happens, and thanks, Race, for your comments there. I'm kind of looking in the corner of my eye. I realize that you're in chat with others and listening to me as well, but I just hear me out for a second. For decades, what would happen was someone would go to a priest or call a parish office, and they'd say, I want to apply for a job, and in the Catholic schools, I need a letter. And what happened was the priest would say, well, I don't know who this person is. I've never seen the name before. They never come to Mass, but I'm going to write them a letter. I'm going to be really nice. I'm going to be generous to them, and I'm going to write them a letter recommending them, and then maybe they'll come to Mass. And, keep doing the same thing and expect different results. It just doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It doesn't work. So what you have is teachers in the schools who do not know their faith, and you cannot give what you don't have. So what I would do is I would say, great, come and meet me. I want to meet you in person. And then the potential teacher would come to me, and I'd congratulate them, and they're usually very nice people. And if so, I say so. And I say, that's great. Like, I'm sure you're going to be a great teacher. But before I write a letter, I'm going to ask you a few questions. And I'm going to give you the questions now, and you can figure out if you know the answers or not. And I'd say, like I think, if you're going to be a teacher, you should know some basic things. And I'm not trying to make you look bad, because I'm going to just be frank with you. I think these are basic things, but you probably were not taught them, and you probably don't know them. And if you don't know the answer, don't worry. I can still write you a letter. I just want you to go learn these basic things and then come back to me, because I want you to teach these things to your students, because for whatever reason, they're not on the curriculum, and they're basic things, and you will understand this when I ask you your questions. So, these are the questions. The first question, I'd say, do you know the Glory Be prayer? And I'm going to tell you, 19 out of 20 could not recite the Glory Be prayer. So in the Catholic Church, the first prayer we learn is the sign of the cross, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. That in itself is a prayer, calling on God and declaring, the Holy Trinity. The second prayer we'll probably learn is the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer, the words that Jesus taught us. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, etc. The next prayer that we learn that is so basic is the Hail Mary prayer. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. It's very scriptural. Right? We're quoting Saint Gabriel, the archangel. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women. Blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And the next most common prayer is simple prayer, Glory Be prayer. And 19 out of 20 could not tell me Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. So immediately I know they don't pray the rosary, right? Because you're going to be praying. If you pray the rosary, you're going to do that. And it's not a precept of the church to pray the rosary, but it is something. um, it is a very Catholic thing, the rosary, right? Like if you're stopped in traffic at a traffic light, and you look over to the next car beside you, and you see rosary beads hanging from the mirror, you go, oh, they must be Jewish, or they must be Presbyterian or something. No, there's Catholic. They're Catholics, right? So I know they don't pray the rosary, but maybe they have some knowledge about the rosary, right? Like for example, the mysteries of the rosary. So I switched to current events, and I say, look, in 2002, and I was ordained in 2005. So when I'm first asking them these questions, it's fairly recent thing. But I said in 2002, Pope John Paul II introduced a new set of optional mysteries to meditate on, which was huge. It even made the secular newspapers. And when you see something Catholic in the secular newspapers, I hope you read it. I hope you read it with a grain of salt, a huge grain of salt. But nonetheless, it made the newspapers that after so many hundreds of years, with three sets of mysteries, Pope John Paul II is introducing some optional mysteries to meditate upon. Do you know what they're called? And none of them knew. None of them have ever heard of the luminous mysteries, the mysteries of light. And that, again, that's okay. It's optional stuff. So, you know any of the mysteries of the Rosary? No, Father, I don't. Oh, okay. That's fine. Don't worry. I'm gonna write you a letter. Don't worry. I'm just gonna write these things down, and I want you to go and learn these things, right? I mean, you're Catholic. You want to be a Catholic teacher. You should know the mysteries of the Rosary. I think, and they nod their head. They're very, very friendly to me. They very rarely do they ever come back. By the way. Maybe once it happened. I got a call once from a permanent deacon. He said, "Congratulations, Father Hannon." Well, for what? For what? Um, um, well, my daughter is in a Catholic Teachers College, and all her classmates are saying, "Well, when you want to get your letter, don't go to Father Hannon." So anyway, I hope my brother priests are doing a similar thing, right? I mean, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? I mean, it has not worked to just write them a letter, no matter what. It's been an absolute disaster in terms of faith formation, in terms of just knowledge. In religion, why can't you get a mark in religion? Why can't you ask some of these questions on a test, on a quiz, and that's what your mark is going to be in religion? If you know these things, why wouldn't you do that? It's not a judgment on whether you're a good person or not. It's just about how have you learned some of the Catholic teachings? So anyway, I say okay. So I'm going to write these things down. You go learn them. And I have taught children, young 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, all the mysteries of Rosary, and I used to like give out stickers if they go around the room. Who can name me all the mysteries we just learned? In a half-hour class or something, and it was fun, and they were so proud that they learned something, because apparently they don't teach memorization in schools anymore. So they're just so proud, and then their parents didn't know. First time I did that, I got a knock on the rectory door, and it was some parents saying that the catechesis class, for children, that the teacher didn't show up. I was in this parish. I didn't even know in the parish hall that there was that going on. And I'm like, okay, well, because of responsible ministry and protocols and stuff like that, I said, well, one of the parents want to stay. Can any of the parents stay? And then I'll teach them. And then they brought up their books, what are they learning and stuff like that. And I'm sure it was all very good. And I said, well, how about this? Do anyone know the mysteries of the Rosary? And let's teach them that. And I remember that day I I was asking one of the parents to drive me to the Canadian Tire because I was getting new tires or something, or brakes done or something, and afterwards it was going to be ready later in the evening. And as they were driving over, as I was driving over, their kids were in the back seat telling their dad the Mysteries Rosary that and they were so excited. And the dad's like, well, they've never been excited. They're so excited. Yeah, well, they're teachable. So anyway, back to the teachers, potential teachers. I say, okay, could you name me the 10 Commandments in order? Well, Father, I don't know if I'll get all 10, and I probably won't get them in order. I write down a piece of paper, 10 Commandments in order. I said, okay, can you tell me the 10 provinces of Canada in order, from West Coast to East Coast? And in the East Coast, it's not exact, it's not, some are overlapping a bit and stuff like that. So it's okay if you get that out of order. And they can do that. So I'm like, okay, see, you can memorize 10 things. How about the 10 Commandments? Because when you become a teacher, you're going to teach whatever, elementary school or even high school. But if someone comes up to you and says, what was the purpose of the Council of Trent? Now, for most of the viewers here, you'd have no problem answering that, right? It's in response to the Protestant Reformation and all of this type of thing. But it was the Catholic Reformation, right? And but if someone asks you that, you're a teacher in the school, like, it's okay. You can say, I'll get back to you on that, right? But if someone says, like, say it's a grade 11 or grade 12 or something, and say I was given a talk, and I say, I talk about like a sixth commandment, for example, and they come up to you and say, well, teacher, what's the sixth commandment? Well, I expect you to know. This is not something you should have to look up, right? Anyway, they can't do that. What else do I ask them? I don't know. Oh, I say, I don't suppose you ever heard of the precepts of the church? No, Father, I haven't. I say, okay. Did you know that it's a serious sin to intentionally miss Mass on Sunday? And no one ever told me that. None of my family does that. We're all good Catholics. Okay, well, that's why I told you, because I figured you didn't know, and now you know, and deal with it. Do what you want with it, but and then that's when I would get into trouble in the schools, because when they have these school masses and stuff, or going to the classroom, I let the teachers know there's a way of speaking over the children's head, but you speak to the adults, and I let them know that they should not be a teacher if they're not going to Mass on Sunday. Because their job belongs to practicing Catholics, right? And they get all mad at me and stuff like that. Because why? Because it's a career for them. It's a job, It's like they feel threatened. In the government-run Catholic schools in Ontario, they know that they are vulnerable for the lack of Catholicity in the school. But here's the problem. And I'm going to get into kind of solution in a few minutes, because I don't want to just be a rant. But what was I just saying? Rewind me for a second. What was I just talking about? I want to tell you something very important about the schools. Oh, yes. Because they know that they're vulnerable, that this is a criticism of them, and this is hitting them. They don't want to lose their jobs. And you know what? I've heard there's a very friendly system. They at least they can talk about God in the schools and stuff like this. But here's the problem. Because they know they're vulnerable on this level, that the accusations are not really Catholic schools, they're Catholic in name only. Thanks. And because of that, they want to kind of fix it, but they don't know how to fix it, because you can't give what you don't have. So they introduce God and Jesus into every opportunity they can, every subject matter, everything. Now, there's a way of doing that that can be very good. For example, I know of a practicing Catholic science, high school science teacher who taught in the government Catholic schools. I think she's retired, but she might not be. Very, very good Catholic, a traditional Latin Mass Catholic. And in science class, she would, at the beginning, she would reference some Catholic saint or some famous Catholic scientist or something like this, right? Or maybe the saint of the day, and she would do that. So that's a good thing. She's imparting knowledge to the students and maybe pique some interest and whatnot. But um, but here's what happens instead. The name of God, Jesus, becomes a tool, an extra tool in the toolbox for crowd control and to control the students. And you may have heard, if you watch some of my other videos, I think I have an old video. It's not perfect, but it's called, "Oh My God, Is That a Sin?" And I talk about, sins against the second commandment, or, for some Protestants, they number that as the third commandment, that shall not use the Lord's name in vain. You shall not miss his name. And, someone will come to confession and say, I used the Lord's name in vain. I'm saying, what way did you use the Lord's name in vain? And, sometimes people they say, well, I said OMG. Oh, like, okay. Well, yeah, you shouldn't call on the Lord's name frivolously. But, there are many prayers that begin, oh my God. So that in itself is not necessarily against the commandment. But why don't you just continue it? Like you just called on God. He's there. He loves you. He's my daughter or my son is calling out to me, and why not turn it into a prayer, right? Oh my God, that's beautiful, right? Because maybe someone says that when they walk around the corner and they see a beautiful painting or something, or a beautiful statue or something, or scenery. Or if they're surprised, or if it's an accident, oh my God, Jesus, please help those people. Can you, Lord, have mercy, whatever, right? Turn it into prayer, enter into conversation, interior conversation with God. And if you stub your toe and you call out the Lord's name, Jesus or Christ or any holy thing, right? Like, then as a swear word, as a frustration, yeah, that his name is to be praised, not to be used as a curse word. So but there's even worse ways of misusing God's name, and that is to use his name to control, manipulate, shame, or humiliate somebody. It's also a grave sin to call on God as your witness. Honest to God, I'm telling the truth about this, or God is my witness. No, you don't do that. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Speak honestly all the time, and don't call God as a witness. And if you're lying, then it's obviously even worse. But sometimes God's name is used to control others, and I witnessed this in the schools. When I'd offer mass and I would be, kids are kids, they're where they're at, and I engage them and whatever. And then I'm leaving, so I see this classroom going back, and the teacher is berating them. You can do better than that. You weren't paying attention. Whoa, slow down. See, in a public school, a government public school, God has not entered into it at all. Now, it used to be historically in the province of Ontario, the public schools were Protestant schools, the Catholic schools were separate schools, and this is constitutionally enshrined. And it would be great if we could fix our Catholic schools, the government Catholic schools. But again, I'll move to kind of a solution in a few minutes. So like hang in there with me, please, if this is of interest to you. But this is using God's name to control or is this is spiritual abuse. This is religious abuse, you know? And so if you send your kids to a government-run Catholic school where, 95% of the teachers do not practice their faith and they cannot give what they give, what they don't have, they're going to give false understandings of the church. So you better be on top of it. You better be on top of it when it comes to when your kids come home and about whatever they're learning about religion. If there was say there's a music school, a private school is specialized in music, eh? And you notice your little Johnny is always tapping and he likes drums or likes to sing. Little Sally likes to sing. So I'm going to send them to that music school and really help them develop that talent. They really love it and stuff like that. But and there's a music school from kindergarten to grade 12, but by the end of grade 12, the majority of 98% of the students cannot read sheet music. They can only name one or two classical artists, and they can only play the most simple medleys on the most simple instruments. Would you say that's a good music school? Like, how many decades would you go by saying that's a good music school? It says music on the front of the school. That send them to the music school. Your kid's into music, send them to the music school. And when they graduate, they've lost all their interest in music. So like these potential teachers who don't know what they don't know, they don't even know that they weren't taught. They believe that they received a good Catholic education. And I expose to them that they have not, right? But of Catholics in Ontario who went to government Catholic schools don't know that they did not receive a good Catholic education. And I've had people come to me and they've been evangelized by non-Catholic Christian communities, and they come to me and they say, well, I don't come to Mass, I go to the Pentecostal or whatever. Why? Because I went to 12 years of Catholic school and never learned anything. And the biggest thing, I never learned that I could have a personal relationship with Jesus. Oh boy, wow. So you better be on top of it if you send your kids to the government Catholic schools. Okay, I want to tell you how it works, and this may inspire some of you towards a solution. So getting back to the Josh Alexander and the crazy situation with bathrooms, they're government schools. They're not Catholic schools. Complaining to the bishop is going to do nothing. It's not going to do anything. But complain if you want. But like I said in the first segment of this live stream, how do you react when someone sends you emails and calls you or whatever and tells you you're wrong and you need to do something and stuff like that? Do you react positively? Is it not more, what the people around you think, but some stranger or whatever? If you know a bishop personally, why don't you take him out for supper or something? Might help. Okay. Okay, so here's the thing. How is the funding covered for education? Like I said at the beginning, public education, so government-run schools are important. I think they should be only for those who cannot afford to homeschool or send their children to private school. Because why would you not give your children the best? But for most of us, we went to the government schools, so we think no one wants to think they got a bad education. No, I went to government-run Catholic schools till grade 8, and then I went to English public school, high school, from grade 9 to grade 13. And I think I went to one of the better schools. I think I got a pretty decent education. I could have got more out of it if I was more a disciplined student and took it more seriously. But I think I got a good education. We all like to think that. Now, like I said, these used to be Protestant schools. So from 1976 to 1981, every morning, the whole school in the government-run public English school, we sang O Canada or played O Canada and prayed the Our Father over the intercom, every homeroom, beginning of every day. I don't think they do that. Oh yes. Oh yes. Sorry. I'm sorry for my mind's going all over the place. Here's what here I want to explain a scenario in a government-run public school versus a government-run Catholic school. And I'm making this up, okay? So, but I believe that it is accurate in some cases. Two kids get in a snowball fight at recess. There's a teacher on duty on recess, sends them to the principal's office. Nowadays, probably the teacher texts the principal and says, Johnny and Sally are going to the principal's office because they're throwing snowballs. And so the principal, they're sitting there waiting for the principal. They're nervous and everything. The principal comes out. So what happened? Oh, she did this, he did that. Oh, no. Slow down for a second. Were you guys throwing snowballs? Yes. You know that's against the rules? Yes. Do I have to call your parents about this? No. Are you going to do it again? No. Okay. There you go. That would be first incident. That's what happened. It's handled. Is that not reasonable? How a reasonable principal would handle that? I think so. In a Catholic school, it comes down like this. And I have been told by students that this type of thing happens. Okay? Where, like I say, it becomes a control issue. Okay, so the same scenario, Johnny and Sally, they go to the principal's office. Principal comes out. So what's going on? How come you were sent here? Oh, she did this, he did that. Whoa, wait a second. Were you guys throwing snowballs? Yes. Is that any way for a Christian boy to act? Is that any way for a Christian girl to act? Remember, they want to bring God into everything, right? Go ask her for forgiveness. But that's not what happened. Just do it. You see how this gives a bad taste, a bad experience of religion, of God, for these students. So, okay. How the system works. How the system works. The tax money is collected at the municipal level through an education levy on property tax, on residential property tax. There may be an education portion on commercial property tax. I'm not sure about that, but I do recall reading many years ago that that education portion of commercial property tax goes to the public system, not the separate system. But that may have been before full Catholic funding. Okay, so here's the way it works. There's a certain portion. I have my education. I have my taxes right here. Okay. See if it's going to come up. County level. Oh, it's not even showing it how much the education portion is. It doesn't matter. There's a portion of it. Now what happens is a property owner or a renter gets to choose which system they're going to support. English public, French public, English Catholic, or French Catholic. Okay? You get to choose which one you support. Now, again, it's supposed to be if you're that you can only support the English Catholic if your baptismal certificates when you fill out the form to say to support the Catholic school. I don't know why I could think of some reasons why they do that, but what this does is at the municipal level. Sorry, the internet's very slow here, so sorry about buffering. When there's municipal elections, that's when we vote for the school board trustees. Okay. So when you go to vote for your counselor and mayor, or counselors and mayor, I vote for, in my ward, there's two counselors. We get to choose two counselors. Then we're also given a ballot. It's really buffering. Sorry. We're also given a ballot for the school board trustees. And that's based on which school board you've designated for your education that you're supporting. And that's it. I guess it also gives some sort of political value in terms of what percentage of the population is throwing their support through the English Catholic school system as to the political aspect. You know, like if they're going to defund the Catholic schools and amalgamate them all into one public system, right? Then one of the reasons, well, look, we only have 5% of the residents designating the support for the Catholic school system, so let's just get rid of it, you know. So but that's the influence that you get, because all of the tax money that's designated for education portion, it goes to the provincial government. Even though you pay your property tax to the municipal level, at the municipal level, they send that portion off to the provincial government. In Canada, the education is a provincial matter rather than a federal matter. So here's what happens. The school boards and the school trustees that we elect are supposed to represent the interests of the parents. Okay? They're trustees because, remember, parents are the educators. And unfortunately now we have teachers thinking that they are co-parenting the children. No, they should be listening to the parents. The parents should be directing. That's why a private school is better than a public school. They're smaller. You're paying so much. The private school is going to listen to the interests of the parents. Okay? But in the government-run school system, they get their money from the provincial government. So the trustees now, after getting so big, they now see themselves, I'm putting to you that this is the way they see themselves, as, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, as liaisons, as conduits at the local level for the Ministry of Education. You know, in the government-run Catholic schools, when they talk about the ministry, they're talking about the Ministry of Education in the government. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about the ministry of the clergy, or the evangelical missionary spirit of the church. No, they're talking about the Ministry of Education. And because the money flows from the province, from the upper levels, then that's who they listen to. That's who they listen to. The only way that the local schools and school board will listen to your concerns about bathrooms or any other issue, anything that's being taught, okay, is to pull your children out of the system. Because then they don't get the $12,000 per student per year. That's what I was recently told it was. Someone can fact check me on that or whatever, but that's a ballpark of how much each school gets for each student, and that's their budget, and it runs in, just multiply that out, right? The school is like anything else, even a business or anything like that. Once it gets big, then it loses its primary purpose, because now it becomes about keeping the system going, keeping jobs going, and unions and all of that type of thing. We have subsidiarity turned upside down, right? Subsidiarity is that decisions are best made at the local level, and that upper levels of governance, governing or regulating bodies or whatever, they are supposed to be there as kind of a support for the local community. So anyone who's thinking about the Josh Alexander, the school bathroom, things like this, the provincial government has strings attached before they write the checks, and it's the provincial government's agenda, the Ontario Human Rights Code that gets amended, has gotten amended over the years, that says that if someone identifies as a particular sex, they have the right to use the public washroom with others of the sex that they identify with, not necessarily the sex that they are. And that's the way it works. And the bishops, in canon law, bishops are required to have Catholic schools in their diocese. And the attitude of the Catholic bishops in Ontario is this. You can agree with it or disagree with it. I'm just telling you what it is. The attitude is, at least we have the schools and we have access to the students so we can teach the gospel, to bring the gospel to them. That's the attitude. They don't want to lose the schools. They want to work with the schools. They know they're basically good people in the school system. I think they know of the problems. The bishops want to have a unified voice. So very unlikely that a bishop is going to break rank with his other bishops, because that's their peer group. The bishop, I think being a bishop is a lonely job. Who understands the problems of bishop? Other bishops, right? So, and like I've explained in other videos, bishops are chosen to be bishops from amongst priests who get along in the system. They don't cause problems. They don't ruffle feathers. They don't swim against the stream. Okay? They see themselves as peacemakers. They want to keep the thing together. Just like the parish system, they want to keep it all together. They're kind of like trying to hold it all together with all the bickering that goes on from different stripes of Catholics, we could say. So very unlikely a bishop is gonna come out in his diocese and say the government-run Catholic schools should no longer be considered Catholic. All the parents should know that they're not receiving an authentic Catholic education. The likelihood of that is slim to none. No, none. Yeah, it's none. I mean, 0.0001%. So we've got this system. We can blame the bishops if we want, but remember, they're human beings. It's not their habit. It's not in their personality. We could say it's not in their characters. It's not the way they operate. All their life, it's served them well to follow the rules, to get along with people, to not confront. If they were the confronting type, they would not have been chosen to be bishops. Okay? So they are successors of the apostles. We need to love them. We need to support them. And like I say, think of how you might influence them. And it's maybe not what you think. Now, if you're compelled, you've got to share it with bishops. You got to write your emails and complain and stuff. Then go ahead and do it and pray. And I pray that, hey, miracles can happen. Or if they're gonna maybe you're thinking, well, they don't have to do that, Father Anthony. They don't have to declare the school's not Catholic. All they have to do is reform the schools. Okay, like I said, the money comes from the provincial government. They're the church, the priest and the bishop is added value. If you understand sales, it's added value to attract students, or we could say clients or customers, to their business, right? Attract students to their school to get enrolled because they offer mass, or they will look after your sacramental preparation. You don't have to worry about it. To me, this is enabling the parents to abdicate their responsibility. That's the way I see it. But it's like, don't worry, we'll take care of it. And when the priests offer mass and go into the schools, it's we're just and get pictures taken, and they have on the school website that we've got a great relationship with the parish priest and stuff like that. This is all added value to get students to go to the school, to keep the system going. Now, that may sound very cynical, and it may be it may not be the motives or the intentions of any given principal or teacher or anything like that. This is a systemic problem. It's not an individual problem. Like principals, teachers, they're good people. They're decent, honest, all that stuff. Otherwise, good teachers, but they don't practice their faith, and the money comes from the government, not from the. See, when we say publicly funded Catholic schools, it gives the impression that tax money is given to the church, and that is the bishops or the priests, and we hire and fire the teachers, and we control things. We have zero control over it because they listen to who, and that's the way it works. So I hope. So here's my positive thing that you can do. Whatever your state in life, and I think it would be great if priests did this. But there's obviously a lot more laity than there are priests, right? So go to the school board meetings. Go to the school board meetings. They're open to the public. Go there and sit there. You do not have to say anything. Your very presence will help the trustees to have a conscience. And again, imagine if there was a half a dozen or a dozen priests at every single school board meeting. I think, and we didn't say anything. We didn't say anything. Sometimes less is more. Sometimes it's good to hold your hands in your car and hold your cards in the hand and don't play them, because then they're wondering. Just go there and know what's happening. And know what's happening. With regards to Josh Alexander, and he's doing, I think he's doing a great thing, and he's acting very virtuously. I think very manly, chivalry. And my question has been, well, where are the dads? Where are the dads? Where are the men? How come it's falling on a 16-year-old boy to lead the charge in this? But then I remembered that, teenage girls, they want to go to school for the social aspect. They don't know, teenage girls and teenage boys, they don't want to be picked on. They don't want their parents going anywhere near their school. They don't want them interfering in their life. Mom, dad, we can handle this. We can handle this. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. They talk about it at home. Like I said earlier, the only thing they're probably going to listen to is you pull the kids out of the school But again, especially the girls, they don't want to be pulled out of the school. That's their whole life. That's their social life. And so I understand why dads aren't maybe stepping up to the plate as I might want them to be, because, I'm I'm not married and I'm not a dad. If I was I tell people maybe some of the things I would do if I was raising teenagers, and it's like, well, it's a good thing you're not a dad, because I would like drug test my kids and stuff like that. I wouldn't be their friend when they were teenagers. They say, well, you don't understand how things work, father. And they say, okay, that's probably right, probably good. I'm not, but I understand. I understand, right? But go to the school meetings, and I think that will be a huge start. Now to I want to switch to, and just start doing it. And bring a friend or just go by yourself and start sitting there. I want to switch to municipal politics, and I won't spend as much time on this, but I want to give a couple examples and explain how that works. And just like we have subsidiarity turned upside down with the school system, we have subsidiarity turned upside down when it comes to our municipal politics. And municipalities, that's where we live, right? That's our neighborhoods. That's our, in this case, a township, and then next level up is a county. In the and if you're in a city, if you're city politics and stuff. It used to be, before amalgamation, cities and then regions and stuff like that. And then you have the province, and then of course you have the federal government, kind of above that. But things are turned upside down. I want to explain a couple of things. I make it a point to go to as many municipal council meetings as possible. I'm usually the only one there from the public that's there for the whole meeting. Sometimes there's a few others there who are giving a presentation to the town council, or they're asking for a favor, a variance on a bylaw and stuff like that. And I'm very blessed to be in the township that I'm in, because I see the local government here, because it's small enough. They want to help people. They will bend over backwards to do variances for building plans and everything like this, and they just want to help people so much. But in my observation, I have this one critique of them, that so often on the agenda over the last few years, so often on the agenda, there are proposals and that they would vote on to adapt local policies to be in conformity with the next level of government up, whether that be the county or the province. And I don't like that, because that is the reverse of subsidiarity. Now, they, to their credit, a couple years ago, a few years ago, they did push back against the city of Kingston, who wanted to impose on this township. We don't have the population base, so our tax rate is quite high compared to other municipalities. And it's just because we don't have enough taxpayers. It's not a dense enough population. But the city of Kingston wanted the township to contribute a significant amount of money to the paramedic service, which, because the hospital is in Kingston, a lot of time, and the various rules that govern and regulations that govern paramedics, a lot of times they're in Kingston, or maybe it all depends where the paramedics are. Like if someone here had a medical emergency, and I called 911 for an ambulance, well, the volunteer fire department would come first, and which is quite often even in cities that the fire department would arrive first. But if the paramedics are stuck waiting for a patient to go through triage at the hospital in Kingston, they might not be here for an hour or 2 hours, right? If there's, I'm only like 7 or 8 minutes away. Maybe the ambulance could get here a little bit faster if they're sitting at the station. But to the credit of my local council, they pushed back on that and refused to kind of give in to their because it can go to arbitration, it can go to, there's various appeals, whatever, right? However that was done, they pushed back on that. I was very happy with them. But here's the thing. By going to the meetings, I'm learning about local politics, and I'm learning about local civics, which, I said I think I got a good education, but in high school I don't remember anything about a civics education, how the government works. Now, that's not to say they didn't teach it, because I probably didn't appreciate it, and I probably didn't pay attention. It went in one ear and out the next, and maybe I crammed for an exam or something, and then I forgot all about it. But I'm learning about how politics works by going to the local meetings. And here's the thing. There are different responsibilities for different levels of government. In the municipality, certain roads, which used to be considered township were considered township roads, but certain roads were considered provincial roads. So the plowing, the salting, the sanding, that was a provincial responsibility. In other words, as far as the money that goes to it, it's spread across all of the taxpayers of Ontario, and however they get the money for that, which is supposed to be a portion of the gasoline tax and for all I know, lottery tax, other thing. I think the government takes in enough money on a daily basis on lottery sales that we shouldn't be paying income tax or property tax for that. Our taxes should be a lot lower. We'll put it like that. But anyway, what happened was a lot of these provincial roads, they got downloaded to the township. So when a road needs repairs, what happens is this: we don't have it in the budget, in the local budget, to fix that road. It's going to be $5 million to do so many kilometers. It really needs repairing. We can't go on like this. But the problem, reaction, solution, you've heard that, most of you. The province comes to the rescue because they offer grants. See? So it can be shared amongst all the taxpayers of Ontario. It can be shared because you can apply for a grant. And then they'll get signs up there, your provincial government at work or whatever, whatever, all this stuff. Thank you for the Trillium Foundation for resurfacing this road that we all depend on. But the grants have strings attached. And that's what I found was many, I'll say many because I don't know the percentage, many of these agenda items at the township level to conform to the policies of the next level of government up is because there's conditions attached to the grant. I'll give you an example, and it's something a little bit different, and where people's interests are, and where we need to change it. We need to change this. We need to change our attitude and our practice in terms of municipal politics. I said most meetings I'm the only one there. Maybe someone's there for a particular agenda item, but they leave as soon as their issue is done. Well, at the first meeting in January, I pull up about 5 or 10 minutes before the meeting starts, and I see the parking lot is full. There's all sorts of cars on the street and then in the adjacent parking lot, and I'm like, what's going on? I go in, and I don't know how many chairs they set up. They probably set up about 30 chairs. They probably do this like for every meeting, and like a few people show up, and almost all the seats were taken. So I'm standing there trying to decide where I'm going to sit, as I'm apt to do, seeing if I know anyone, maybe, or maybe to sit in a strategic place, maybe where I might be able to video or something. Although they live stream it on YouTube, which is really good. But again, how many people even go on to the YouTube channel to watch the council meetings, So anyway, I asked all the people who are sitting down, I said, what's going on? What's going on? So they say pickleball. So I don't know exactly what pickleball is. I think it's like tennis, only they use the hard ball that's the size of a baseball with holes in it. I always used to call that a wiffle ball. But anyway, it's a thing, and they're all there because they've been asking, or they want to ask council, and they showed up in numbers, right? There's 25 people here, and they want to address council. They got on the agenda and they want to address the mayor and the council. Why? Because they're asking for a guarantee that their pickleball league will be able to use the pickleball courts that they're using for 5 years, because the pickleball courts, the tennis courts, I guess, I don't know if you can still use it for tennis, but they are located on township property. It used to be the high school, and they built a new high school, which was actually from junior kindergarten to grade 12, and everyone goes to that, and all the little schools in the local neighborhoods, elementary and high schools, they all closed, and everyone gets bused to this big school. Anyway, the council said that the mayor is explaining to them, look, we want to be able to sell that property. And they've been spending some money on engineers and whatnot for feasibility studies. If that property could be sold for basically apartment units, like maybe low-rise apartments or something like that. Because in this township, every single property is on its own drilled well or dug well and septic system. And the question is, can they do it? So I've watched the reports on this. They've been, I don't know how many thousands of dollars they've spent on, I think about $20,000 already. And how are they going to get the water? They're going to get the water from the lake. And then how does it get processed? And they say, okay, well, and they've got all the modern technology, how it can be done. And it basically is set up like a building on site. It could even look like a house. But in it has all the filtration and has the power plant, everything in there. And the water coming out of it, like after processing wastewater, is going to be cleaner for it to go back into the lake. And as a matter of fact, they could just recycle it, except it's probably, people don't want to do that, but they want to take the water from the lake, purify that water so that it's drinkable, have the people use it, flush down the toilet, gray water, black water, gets all processed, comes out cleaner than the water that came in. They put it back in the lake. So in a way, they say they're cleaning the water in the lake as well at the same time. Okay. So the township is saying, the mayor is saying, look, we got to consult our lawyers because we cannot promise 5 years. We can't give you the Pickleball Association 5-year commitment, because in 4 years, a developer might come along and want to buy that property. And it's all of our interest that they sell that property to build up the reserves to pay for the things, so maybe our taxes don't have to go up that much. And well, at the last all candidates meeting before the last election, I asked the question, because there are more people moving in and building houses here, the property revenue is going up. So can you please consider lowering taxes? I want that in their head. They should be lowering taxes. And the chief financial officer told me later, when I met her at a grocery store, that actually they have in the past lowered taxes, but it's the grant money that keeps that. If you get a lot of grant money, you can lower the taxes. So again, you got the strings attached. So anyway, here's like a bigger picture, and this is a problem that I've noticed with us Canadians. And just like cancel culture, we live in this culture like, even though we're countercultural, you might consider yourself, conservative minded politically, or libertarian, or whatever. I mean, I'm thinking of most who would watch my videos. The thing is, we are also part of this culture, and I find as Canadians as a whole, we have this problem. We have a mindset. We need an attitude adjustment, and the attitude that we have is that we're always looking for someone, big daddy, but usually government, or in the church, it's bishops or the priest, or to solve the problems. We're always looking for top-down solutions. You see, if this pickleball association, I don't know what it costs. The reason the pickleball association wants a grant from the provincial government, in other words, the grant money is going to be shared by the taxpayers, the tax base of all of Ontario, right? And they're going to get a grant. I don't know what it's for. Maybe it's $5,000. Maybe it's $10,000. I don't know what it costs, but it's to resurface the court. So you can understand why the provincial government has this string attached for grant money for the pickleball court, because they don't want to just give them this money, they resurface it, and then the next year it's gone, right? So it's a reasonable thing. You can understand on some committee or some staff worker was saying we should have this string attached, this condition. Fair enough. But think about it. I don't know how many people are in that pickleball league. Maybe there's 50 people. If there's 50 people and everyone pitches in $100, that's $5,000. Or they could do a fundraiser in the community. And instead of asking for, maybe the favor they could be asking for town council would be that they would promote a fundraiser, a raffle, or something. They would promote that on their website or through their newsletters or whatever. And, they could have that resurface right away, no strings attached. And it reminds me of a situation in my home diocese a few years ago, where there was a guest speaker at what we call pastoral days. The guest speaker is Catholic Immigration Service. And the Catholic Immigration Service is Catholic like the government-run Catholic schools are, okay? They can't discriminate or anything like that. They can't give preferential treatment to Catholic families from third world countries or Catholic countries or anything like that. But anyway, this particular meeting had quite a few visitors, like from laity. These pastoral days are for priests and deacons and staff, but the faithful are welcome to come. Most of them don't even know about it, but a lot came because there's a number of parishes who have been sponsoring families from difficult situations in other countries for decades. They've been doing this. They're kind of social justice parishes, and good on them. And but this question came up because they sponsored this family to come over to Canada. They found jobs, whatever, But they also brought intergenerational, as Catholics. Yeah, bring your family over. Like, we get that. We're going to sponsor you too. Well, I guess they were also taught or guided through, we'll say, the social welfare system. So anyway, this one gentleman stands up and said, we brought all this family over. Well, the grandfather needs dentures, and the dentures are dental work or something like that, and it's going to cost $2,000, and the social assistance won't pay for it. That is, the local welfare people won't pay for it. Do you have any suggestions? So the Catholic immigration person offered some suggestion, and a few people put their hands up and said, well, like, have you called your member of provincial parliament? Have you called your city councillor? Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And I don't know if it dawned on me after the meeting or not, but I thought, there's 100 people in that room. If we passed the basket, we passed someone took their hat and passed the hat, and everyone put $20 in, you got $2,000. There, it's done. You don't have to go through red tape, wait for anything, no strings attached, And actually, that's a very big parish. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't surprise me if that particular parish has 1,000 unique donors every weekend. Well, how about you make an announcement? Can everyone pitch in $2? And if you can afford more, please pitch in more, because some people might not be able to put in $2. You didn't bring change or something like that. It would have been handled. We've got this attitude that the next level of government is supposed to fix our problems, and I think we need to break that. think we need to break that. So just like the school boards, I want to encourage everyone to go to their municipal council meetings. There's also committee meetings, other things that are open to the public according to your own schedule. Please go there. And again, just sit there. You don't have, in a sense, you don't have to listen. Okay? Go there and pray your rosary. Go there, hold up your phone. You can record it, or you can hold up your phone and have earphones in and watch my YouTube videos. I don't care. Go there and sit there, because you will have a positive impact just by you being there, and they don't even know who you, in a big city, they don't even know who you are. I talked to a former city councilor of a big city, and I asked him about this strategy. And he said, oh yeah, that would definitely have an effect. Because in municipal politics, at least the city in big cities, there's all these deals going back and forth, and you have political enemies. And if someone shows up, because there's lobbyists that go and everything like this, if someone shows up, they're going to be wondering, who sent that person? What's on their thing? So you see how even keeping your mouth shut will have even maybe more influence. Because if at these meetings with school board, municipal government, they see that there's hardly anyone there, and if they live stream and they have archived their council meetings on YouTube or some other platform, and hardly anyone is watching, well, when decisions are going, they're kind of like, well, they may feel pressure from some lobbyist or whatever's going on, but they may have their own bias, maybe, that maybe is not what you would like. And they have a sense that maybe not everyone's going to agree with it, but they might, if they see there's only one person here, there's only like 12 people who watch our council meetings. Yeah, we can vote this through. But if there's a whole bunch of people there and they don't even know who you are, or if you go to your municipal YouTube channel and you watch or click play and go do something else, at least I'm not trying to be deceptive, okay, but I'm just trying to say, as human beings, how people think, how people work, and how can you be a positive influence. So go to these meetings. Now, we need good people like you to run for school trustees and for municipal politics. Because as I've explained in other videos, like infighting and the dysfunctional system, the codependency, the roles that people kind of fall into from their family of origin or traumatic or whatever situations they're in, they play this out. And it seems to me that too many control freaks, rule followers, rule makers, enter into the political arena. And most good people, have just been content with living our life and leave me alone. Well, we need good people to run. And encourage your friends or neighbors to go to the municipal meetings. And again, priests or any religious leaders, rabbis, Muslim leaders, Protestant leaders, if we would go, I wish I would see, we're supposed to care for the community, right? We're supposed to care for all souls. Well, why aren't there, why was I the only clergy at the municipal all candidates meeting before the election? Why am I the only one who shows up? I did see one Protestant minister it might have been the last meeting actually, or it might have been 2 meetings ago. It wasn't in the last meeting that I was at, but there was a Protestant minister, retired Protestant minister, showed up because the Anglican church burnt down a couple years ago as a tragic thing, and they're not going to rebuild it because they don't have the people to rebuild it. But they wanted a plaque on municipal property, so he was going to ask for that. But shouldn't all the religious leaders be at these municipal meetings? Wouldn't we be like 6 priests is one thing in a city, or 12 or 50 or whatever, but even at this municipal level, and I'm sure it never occurred to them, but I need to start reaching out to the Protestant ministers in this area and the Catholic priests in this area and invite them to come with me. I asked an OPP officer to come with me to the all candidates meeting, but he was working. So I'm trying to get to know the police, right? Because they're human beings too, right? And they need our prayers and stuff like that. And we want them to be friendly to us if the government decides to give them orders that they should disobey, but maybe are afraid of losing their job or conditioned to always follow the orders, right? Want them to be on our side. And when I go to the municipal meetings, I care about the community. I'm interested in politics as any thinking human being should be, and in my opinion, but also I want them to know who I am, because someday I may need a variance from them, or I may need a favor from them, or maybe and favor, I don't mean like breaking the law, but I mean I want them to help me, um and I don't want to just be a name on a piece of paper that crosses their desk. When they see my name, they all know who I am. Well, at least maybe the present council, because there's new council members, but my councilors know who I am. The mayor knows who I am. The previous councilors who got reelected, they know who I am. So the city staff know. They're the significant city staff, right? Are at these council meetings, and they all know who I am as well. So this is all a very good thing if you go to these meetings, and say we snowballed this a bit, and you go and you bring a friend, you bring a neighbor, and then more people come, and then you've got 50 people going to the meetings all the time. Well, out of those 50 people, don't you think maybe one of them might look at this and think, I can do this job. I can do better, because and I'm not saying you can't make a presentation at these meetings if you want to. If there's a particular issue you want to speak up at, you have to follow all the rules and get there's rules of order and stuff like that, and apply it to the next meeting to address. Or you can do like I will sometimes do, contact a counselor and say, hey, I liked what you're doing. I need to do that actually to my 2 counselors, because they did a really good job at a meeting that I watched on live stream. I really liked how they were intervening and doing due diligence to something that was just going to be passed, otherwise. And one of my counselors put up his hand and said, don't you think we should, because the wording of this, don't you think we should just postpone that until we look at them a bit before we approve all of this? And they agreed. So I'm really, really pleased with them, right? And so you can do it after the meeting or whatever. You can address the whole council at the next meeting or whatever. One of my counselors, she's on her 2nd term right now. And when she, before she ran, she went to all the township council meetings for a year or maybe longer. She went to every single one of them before she put her hat in the ring to run. And at the last municipal election, there was 4 candidates for the 2 positions, and one of them, I think, his heart and mind is like, his heart's in the right place. He's a skilled tradesman. Unfortunately, I don't know if he ever went to a council meeting. He was not up on some of the current events at the township level. Had he been going to meetings, he would have known that, right? he would have known that. He would have known what he's getting. Like, I think he wants to get in for good reason. He grew up in the area. He's now got kids. He doesn't. He sees that it's not the same, and he wants a good future for this community. Obviously, for his children. That's a great motivation. But unfortunately, not going to the meetings. Didn't know really what he was getting into. He was in kind of in the deep end of the swimming pool, and so he didn't get elected. But if he does start going to meetings and runs again, then he'll have a better chance, right? So there you go. We need people who are not control freaks, who aren't going to feel like if they get elected, they got to make up all sorts of new rules to restrict people, to regulate and do their job and justify their. I would love it if a candidate ran on a policy of, I'm going to examine all of the bylaws and all of the regulations in this area that we have jurisdiction over, and I'm going to get the government out of your hair as much as possible. And I'm going to do everything we can to figure out innovative ways to raise money so that we can lower people's taxes. I mean, why not? There are wealthy people in this township. Maybe they would, maybe they would consider giving money to the township for the benefit of all the residents. Maybe we do this in the church where we ask people to leave estates in the will. Well, why don't leave estate to the township? Like, why can't the township kind of promote that? One thing that came before council that I don't agree with. It's a very small thing, though. One thing that came before council was that it was some sort of a dog event. I don't know if it was a dog show or it might have been for a dog shelter or something like this, and they were asking for $250, and each year the same group comes and they ask for donation from the township, and they voted to give $250 because they've been doing that for a number of years. And I spoke to my counselors about that, and the response was, well, it's hard to go back once it's a precedent is set. I said, well, why can't we say, well, we've matured or things have changed, so sorry? Why can't such an organization come and ask for $250, and instead of voting our tax money to do this event, which I might not agree with, I may or may not agree with, why can't they say, well, we won't do that, but what we will do is we're going to put that on our website and encourage people to give a donation, right? Because maybe, I don't know, $250 spread out through the township, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's 50 cents on my taxes, okay? So whoop-de-doo. However, maybe I want to know about this cause. And if I didn't watch the council meeting, I wouldn't know about it. And maybe I want to give $50, and 5 people giving $50, $250, and they didn't have to take a penny from the taxpayers, right? Why can't they just, promote their cause as a way of supporting them instead of giving money to them, right? But I think there's a lot of ways. So I'd love it if someone ran. We're going to lower taxes. We're going to reduce the number of regulations and bylaws because we're going to look at them all, because some of them are obtrusive or redundant or whatever, right? And but how are you going to know that if you don't know? But we need people to run who want government out of their private lives, right? But unfortunately, the people that run are people who have agendas, and they want to change things. And it may be good intentions and all that. I'm not taking that. I'm not saying every single politician, but too many of them want to make up extra rules and extra burdens. And I think we need to change this mindset if possible. So there you go. That's what else was I going to talk about? Well, the main thing with all of those things is subsidiarity is turned upside down. I want people to start thinking of, personal responsibility wherever possible. You know, I don't take a salary from my diocese, okay? And I want it that way. And some people say, well, you're a priest and they should be supporting you and stuff like that. Well, maybe not. But I want people to support what I'm doing because they believe in what I'm doing. And because if I was paid by the diocese a salary, and I don't take in near as much as the salary, the goal is to be able to bring in as much as a parish priest does, but anyway, that's it doesn't matter. I don't care. I want to live the rest of my life here. I want to run this retreat center. I want to offer what I can online to people, and if people find it beneficial, I hope that they can give a contribution to the retreat center. And if that is on your heart, you can look in the description underneath the video. It says show more, or it has a little arrow if you're watching on a phone, and you just click that and you see whole the description and all that stuff. But like I'm not a socialist, right? If I was getting paid for my diocese, that money would be, the way it works is that every parish gives a certain percentage. In my home diocese, it's 13% of the Sunday collections to the diocese to pay for salaries of administrative staff and priests and bishops who are not in parishes but are doing other work, and to be a support for the priests in the parish and the parishioners and stuff. It's very important. We have to do this as part of the, well, we don't, I mean, it's a system, everything could fall apart, but that's the way it works. So if I was taking a salary from there, that my salary would come from 13% of that general collection. And you know what? There's probably a lot of Catholics who don't think that a priest should be doing what I should be doing. There are priests who think that I shouldn't be doing what I should be doing, what I'm doing, right? They think every priest should be in a parish and stuff like that. And I'm like, look, I'm not really suited for a parish. Takes a particular skills. And I was wearing myself out, spinning my wheels, trying to help people who don't want the help. But I was good in the parish in some ways, but in other ways, like my relationship with the government-run Catholic schools, right? That's not what I should be doing. And part of this retreat center, I want people to take some time for silence. You don't have to come here to do it, but because I think that God wants to inspire people for some of the solutions of the problems in the church and in the wider culture, right? But we're so busy doing other things that we don't hear his voice. So I don't have the solutions for everything. For very few things I have solutions for, ideas for. But maybe if someone comes on retreat or goes on retreat, maybe they will get inspired and make some change in their life that will be a solution, which will be for their own benefit, for the benefit of others, and from my perspective, for the glory of God. So, okay, there you go. Let me take a look at the chat and see if anyone has any questions or whatever for me. And I've been on, I think I've been online for, have I been live for like over 2 hours? I think I have. Wow. Definitely try to split this up later if I can. Okay, so where I picked off last in the live chat, I see Living the Life with Father P. Apologetics works best with mentoring. Michael says, God bless you, Father Anthony. Okay, I think I saw that. Father John Brown, SJ, says, I run a school here in New Orleans. Thank God we don't have these controversies. Well, even in the school system in the United States, I have this book, it's called Designed to Fail, about the parochial school system in the United States, because although it is, I think it is better than the government-run Catholic schools here in Canada, and a parish or will have more influence in what's taught and what like that. I think it also, you get the situation where the parish schools or the district schools get to a certain size and you don't want to lay off teachers and stuff like that. And then it just becomes, we got to keep the system going, because I think also in the United States, by the way, the one teacher out of the I always say 19 out of 20 couldn't answer these questions, or 20 out of 20 couldn't answer them. The one teacher, potential teacher that could answer knew the Glory Be prayer, she went to, for a couple years, a parochial school in the United States. So congratulations. That's why she said she knew that. And when I started mentioning, I asked her if she knows any of the Mysteries of the Rosary, and she said no. But when I asked her, but then she elaborated that the reason she knows the Glory Be prayer is because, when I started telling her the Mysteries of the Rosary, started listing them off, she said, "Oh, that's what we said before we said all those Hail Marys." I said, "That's right." She said, "Oh, we pray the Rosary every day, but all I remember for that is sore knees." Sore knees. Yeah, they made us kneel on our chairs. Can you imagine, kneel on your hard chairs on your desk? What? Again, spiritual and religious abuse. Come on, don't make prayer so difficult for the kids. I'm sure that was an exceptional thing, but anyway. Ray, some people do not like freedom of speech. Father John Brown, that's why liberals only have one view if it's their way or the highway. I guess I can let people look at the old, I don't have to read them all out, eh? So anyway, nice to see the chat engaging. Doesn't look like there's any trolls. By the way, if you want to send me an email, franthonyhannon@protonmail.com is my preferred. You can also send to in Viam Pacis Retreat Center @gmail.com. By the way, if you go to the website, which I don't have listed in the description because I need to get updated on that, in viampacis.org, you can see a little bit about the retreat center, but I haven't updated it since I made it, which was like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. So the links to PayPal will work, but the contact page doesn't work. It's not coming through. It's been hacked or something. I do not get any emails that people send through the contact page of that. But if you do send me an email, like the franthonyhannon@protonmail.com, please leave your full name and phone number, and that way I know you're a real person. I know you're serious. If you're in Canada, United States, if you're open to it, I'd love to have a conversation over the phone with you. I think it's a much better way of communicating. And recently I got an email from someone with a link, basically wanting to change my mind on something, and didn't leave their name or phone number. So I don't give it a lot of credence or whatever. Priests should be teaching religion in the Catholic schools, yeah. But Carol, that in Ontario here, we've got this problem of they're government run, and I've had many complaints against me by going into the Catholic schools and teaching them Catholic teaching. Yeah, so Rich is saying, too bad about the situation regarding teachers in the Canadian Catholic schools. Yeah, and I'm not talking about the private Catholic schools, I'm talking about the government-run ones. And it would depend on the school and it would depend on the teacher. I've met some very devout Catholic teachers in the government Catholic school. Unfortunately, they often enough feel ostracized in the system because most of their colleagues are not practicing Catholics. And yeah, some even brag about getting a letter from a priest who who they don't even believe in God, but I got a letter from Father so and so, go to him, or Monsignor so and so. As a matter of fact, there's in Ottawa they've formed a Catholic Teachers Guild for practicing Catholics, and for mutual support, for moral support. Christine, God bless you, Father. Thank you for Christine. And Yahweh, my monitor. I think she's my only active monitor these days. So thank you, Yahweh, for coming on. And there you go. So Ray says Ontario is publicly funded, so the Catholic School Board is watered down, woke. Oh, Divine Intervention Ontario. Father, are you able to run for school board trustee? I think I would need permission from the bishop. It's not something that I aspire to, but and again, I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could make a difference really. I'd be telling all the parents to take their kids out of the school system. It's bad. No, like I say, if there's some sort of solution that can be reformed, then great, let's reform it. But I don't know how. And again, maybe someone needs to go on a retreat, and this is on their heart, and pray about it, and maybe you're going to come up with a solution. I don't have a solution. How to fix it. And again, my apologies to those who really want to salvage the government Catholic schools. I'm not, people don't have to agree with me. I just being honest about the way I see it. But yeah, Race, I like to call them government Catholic schools rather than publicly funded Catholic schools, because I think it's just a more accurate way of saying it. Okay, I doubt anyone stayed with me for this whole 2.5 hours that I've been not ranting, but doing this huge monologue. I think I needed to do this video maybe more than people needed to hear it. You can't give what you don't have, but what you have, you should give. And I think I was really feeling a little bit guilty or neglectful that I wasn't offering some content to anyone who watches these videos and looks for videos that I put out. I'm really humbled and grateful for all of you that do watch these videos. And after I look, I don't know how many people have been watching this overall. Let me pull up the analytics here, if it will come up, because as I'm live streaming, it's using a lot of the internet volume or whatever. Yeah, so like right now, like there's 15 watching right now, and throughout the live stream there's a dozen or so, but 62 individual viewers, I think that's what it means, have come, and then they left, and find out what I'm talking about, and either not interested to say they'll catch it later because YouTube is going to upload it, and I hope that some of you can be just listening to it while you're doing other things. I know from my own experience that YouTube, like television in the past, can be a little bit of a trap, and probably a number of subscribers have given up using or watching YouTube videos for Lent, or at least reduced it. Maybe it's a good idea to say, well, on this day, I'm not going to go on the internet or something. Yahweh is saying, I just spoke with my older son, who has 4 children, that has been going to school board meetings, a charter school in the United States. So I look forward to um, speaking with you, Yahweh, or if you wanted to leave some further comment in the chat, I can read that up. Ray says, I wish I could give up our government. LOL. Yeah, I guess like for Lent, give up our government for Lent. Yeah. Well, sometimes maybe some people do get anxiety, because you're watching all these things and it's we are in the information overload age, and it's okay to take a break from these things. Like I say to some people and to myself sometimes, if I don't keep up on everything that's going on, if I don't check my usual sources today or even for a week or however long, this, if I don't check it today, the sun's still going to come up in the morning, right? Like things will be fine. I just out here, I just look at nature, and like the birds and the chipmunks, they're not worried about all this stuff. The deer, they're not worried about all the stuff that we worry about. But there you go. Okay. Yeah, like I say, I hope maybe later if people do visit and then they come back, hope they revisit and they can listen, on their with headphones or earbuds or whatever while they're doing other stuff. Um, I'm very humbled that the number of people that watch these videos, and I just hope and pray that there's something good that people can take away from it. The nutshell about this long live stream is um, with regards to happiness, nobody else has to change for you to become happy or holy or sober or whatever. Nobody else has to change. Try to cultivate the habit of looking for good in others rather than the habit of looking for the flaws in others. When we do see flaws in others, let it be an example, let it be for us a learning lesson of how not to behave or how not to talk or whatever. So even that can be a growth opportunity for ourselves. Let's cancel culture. Let's not like write people off, but be open to, keep an open mind and listen and learn from others, because sometimes great wisdom comes from fools and otherwise fools or apparent fools, and sometimes foolishness comes from people who are supposed to be wise. And if we look for the good in others, then we will be happier, and we'll enjoy people's company a lot more. And it doesn't mean we don't see the flaws in others, but let's look at our own flaws first and realize that, boy, even when I try to change myself, so often I don't make much progress, or I fail completely, and then so why expect that from others? Lower your expectations of others, and apply the golden rule. Think of, if you want to influence someone's thinking or behavior in a positive way, think of how you would receive criticism, or how would you receive advice, and how you would not, and if someone is, like I'm a priest, right? I love the church, in love with the church, we could say. But the thing is, if someone comes at approach, and I was ordained in 2005. Okay, I do not know the 1962 mass. I'm open to learning it, but if someone comes and they're putting down that which I love, or that which the way I pray, then I'm telling you right now, the reaction I have is, I don't want to listen to you. So let's consider that when we're dealing with others or family members of whatever issue it is. Does it work when people come and criticize that which you love or criticize you to get them to change? It usually doesn't work. And then the school system, I explained the way it really is. It's government run, and same with at the municipal level. We've got upside down subsidiarity. This needs to change, and I want to encourage people to go to their school board meetings. And if you're in Ontario and you throw your support politically, or the property tax portion goes to the English Catholic, you can go to the English Catholic meetings. You can go to the French Catholic meetings. You can go to the French public. You can go to the English public. You can go to all. They're not asking you at the door, where do you throw your support for your municipal property tax? They do not ask that. And you have a right, all of us have a right, to go to the public meetings, because it's all in all of our best interests, because they're all public schools, right? These government, they're all, I think there should be government schools for those who cannot afford to homeschool or private school. But I consider it kind of the base level of education, not the best. And obviously it varies on teacher and the student and how much they apply themselves and stuff like that. Anyway, there you go. That's the video. Thank you for the dozen or so who are watching right now. And you're in my prayers daily, anyone who watches these videos, because I gotta at least pray that if there's anything I say that's not helpful or not good, at least let them know that that's not good. Right? But I pray for you. I'm very humbled, and that you watch, and also that you for any supporters to help pay the bills. I really obviously appreciate that. Appreciate all your prayers. I need prayers too, living this life that I'm living. I'm very grateful that I'm living this life, but I'm very grateful to be a priest, but we need prayers too, because maybe we're a bigger target from all sorts of beings. So thank you for your prayers for me, and thank you for your financial support. And every month, at least once a month, usually the first mass I offer in the month is for the specific intention of the benefit intentions, the good intentions, obviously, of anyone who's contributed to the retreat center. And there you go. Okay. The Lord be with you. May Almighty God bless each and every one of you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Go in peace. Live in the truth. Live free.